As friends and families of the victims in the Crocus City Hall theater attack in Moscow continue to mourn, right-wing media figures in the US have already seized on the opportunity to weaponize their grief. Take a look.
I'm the only one with the guts to get behind this microphone in front of a camera and to tell you the truth, which is we're facing the second Muslim crusade. Not by all Muslims, obviously. But it's interesting. There are several billion Muslims in this world. Let's pretend there's 1 billion. So if 1/10 of 1% of 1 billion, Mr. Producer, are committed to terrorism, that's a lot of people. That's a whole lot of people. But it's not 1/10 of 1%. There have been surveys done where a significant percentage have been so radicalized that they flat out support terrorism. Now, what are we supposed to do? Pretend that's not true? It is true.
It's not true, and we are not facing the second crusade. In fact, the European Union compiles statistics on who is behind terrorist attacks in the EU. And between 2010 and 2021, which is the most recent year data is available, the biggest driver of terrorist attacks was ethno-nationalists and separatists. There were fewer jihadist and religiously inspired attacks during that period than left-wing and anarchist attacks. But the same thing is happening here in the US. The biggest threat facing law enforcement and that they're focused on is white supremacists. During a 2021 Senate hearing, Attorney General Merrick Garland and DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas testified the greatest domestic threat facing the US came from what they both called racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, specifically those who advocate for the superiority of the white race, Mr. Garland told the Senate Appropriations Committee. But Mark Levin does not operate within reality. He has a narrative to push. It's built on bigotry, it's built on xenophobia and racism. He wants to keep his viewers and listeners living in fear and hating their neighbors. For example, in October of last year, shortly after the October 7th attacks and the reported uptick in anti-Semitic incidents, he said, "Now who's doing this? Why such a spike? This wasn't the case 10 years ago. This wasn't the case 20 years ago. Well, I'll tell you why. Because we are allowing people from Arabic Muslim countries, from the Middle East and other parts of the world to come into this country unvetted." I mean, Cenk, there is a lot of racism, a lot of xenophobia, a lot of Islamophobia here. I guess I wanted to go back to his original comments here on the crusade. What is he getting at here? Why does that resonate with part of his audience, if not all of his audience?
A lot of mainstream media don't give you honest news. We do. You know why? Because of you. Paid membership on YouTube makes all the difference. Hit the join button below and you become the hero that sustains us.
So look, Mark Levin hates Muslims and he is bigoted against them in almost every time he brings up this conversation in every way. We just showed you a couple of the ways that he does it, but I want to break it down further for you guys, and I'm going to show you one last clip in a minute or so. So first off, when he says that old trick about, well, if just 1/10 of 1% of the Muslims are terrorists, well then, we got to fear all Muslims is the implication. But wait a minute, that's not a real number. You just made that up. That's not true at all. In fact, we know how many terrorist attacks have happened throughout the world, right? And we know how many Muslims there are, and the actual number is infinitesimally low, as it is for every race and every religion, right? And by the way, you could do the same thing with Israelis or Jewish people. And I hate it, and I don't believe in things like this because I'm not a racist like Mark Levin. But if you said, well, I mean, Yigal Amir is a terrorist, there's a number of terrorists who are Israeli settlers, let alone the fact that the IDF has now killed 26.5 times the number of civilians, innocent civilians, women and children that Hamas killed. So, I mean, do you believe in definitions or don't you? Terrorism is killing innocent civilians, and that's what Israel does 26 times more than Hamas. But he says, no, the IDF, the leaders of the IDF, the leaders of the Israeli government are angels when they murder and murder and murder those civilians at 25 times the rate of the horrible Hamas terrorists, they did it with goodness in their heart. And so it doesn't count. It's only the dirty Muslims who are the terrorists. Okay, what if we use your logic? Well, it appears based on what 0.1% of all the Jews in the world are terrorists. What can we do, right? Now, the reason you don't use that logic is because it leads to awful things. Then everybody's checking around the corner. Is it that Jewish guy who's the terrorist? Is it that Jewish guy? Is it the Jews who are the terrorists? I mean, I know it's only 0.1 of 1%, but we can't trust any of them. And when we started allowing Jews into this country, we started having more terrorist attacks. It must be the Jews. Now, how horrible is it? I hope you think that sounds horrible, because it is horrible. And it's not remotely true. The same is true of Muslims. But here in America, we just accept this casual bigotry. Like, no big deal. Mark Levin says that well, I'm not saying all Muslims are terrorists, but I'm saying you should be worried about all Muslims. You should be discriminating against Muslims, and killing Muslims is no big deal at all. 32,000 dead, 1.1 million starving. But in Mark Levin's dumb fat head, he thinks they're not really valuable anyway. They're not really human anyway. Who gives a damn about them? In fact, let me share that last clip with you, and then I've got more.
Our country, by that I should be more specific, Biden, the Democrat, and his regime and his surrogates and his supporters literally want to carve out a brand new country for Palestinian terrorists in the Middle East. Like there's not enough. Take it like taking the right kidney out of the state of Israel.
So if the Palestinians have a state, it's a terrorist state. It's not Hamas he's talking about. He's talking about 5 million Palestinians. And he says, besides which, what do they need another state for? They're all Arabs anyway. Who cares? Palestinian, Jordan, Syrian. I'm not going to make any distinction. All those Muslims are the same anyway. They're all terrorists. And if we give them a state, they'd be a terrorist state. That's Israel's anyway. It's Israel's. I don't care that 5 million Palestinians are living there. Gee, I wonder who sounds like they're a terrorist enabler. I don't want a single innocent Israeli dying, and I don't want a single innocent Palestinian dying. Does it sound like Mark Levin agrees? No. A single innocent Israeli and his big fat head explodes, rightfully so. But 32,000 dead Palestinians, at least 23,000 of them women and children. And Mark Levin says, who cares? And let's keep imprisoning them and occupying them and destroying them and humiliating them. But you see how they're the bad guys. No, Mark, I don't. I think your mind is diseased. It's taken over by hatred and you can't see straight. So he started talking about how the ISIS-K that did the Russia attack, that was how he started this nonsense, was because Russia supported Hamas. But then why would Muslim terrorists attack them for supporting them? That doesn't make any sense at all. He's not even trying to make sense. And he says that Putin had this coming because he's against Israel, as if all of this is about Israel. It has almost nothing to do with Israel. ISIS-K is from Afghanistan. And do you know that they're fighting? You know the number one enemy of ISIS-K right now is the Taliban. They're fighting the Taliban, and they hate Russia because Russia killed ISIS-K in Syria. That doesn't have anything to do with the Gaza conflict. But this moron only sees things in Jew or Muslim, Jew, angel, Muslim, terrorist, hate him, evil, right? That's who this dumbass Mark Levin is. So Hamas, Gaza, what are you talking about? Because his entire giant head is contained with only Israeli right wing is right about everything. I hate Muslims. So that's all that he ever sees through the lens of, hey, what would you like for lunch? Muslims are terrorists. It was because of them. Dude, I didn't even tell you what's for lunch, you dumbass. Okay, so what and if we use Mark Levin's logic, so should Russia kill 32,000 people in Afghanistan now because ISIS-K came from Afghanistan? Should they kill over 20,000 women and children who are innocent in Afghanistan, who have nothing to do with this group? Remember, ISIS-K is fighting the Afghan government. But should we go slaughter 32,000 people in Afghanistan right now? Because Russia's just defending itself. 137 civilians were killed in that attack. Russia's just defending itself. Should they needlessly starve 1 million Afghans? Because this is Levin logic. lunatic logic. Oh, it turns out these particular attackers were from Tajikistan originally. Should Russia go defend itself by murdering 32,000 people in Tajikistan and starving 1 million people in Tajikistan? Would that be self-defense? Because, hey, the Tajik terrorists were hiding behind their civilians. They were using them as human shields. So we had to murder a random 32,000 or 23,000 people in Tajikistan. And we had to starve a random 1.1 million people. The only way you would think that is if you're an evil moron like Mark Levin and you think Muslim equals terrorist equals I'm going to kill them because of how evil they are. And that's the kind of inanity that Mark Levin believes in.
You hit it on the nail, or you hit the nail on the head, sorry. It is a diseased mind that uses a moment like this to weaponize their platform, to target and single out an entire race of people, or an entire religion. It's horrifying. And unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where that's just so welcome and so normal that there's no repercussions. Like you pointed out, if someone said that about Jewish Americans or Jewish people in general, they would rightfully be condemned. But it is so acceptable to be Islamophobic, especially in American media, that you can say things like this, that you can make broad characterizations about hypothetical percentages of Muslim people and that they support violent acts. When the data shows you that really it's supremacists, it's white supremacists. And no one in the right, no right-wing media personality wants to talk about that because they don't want to upset their listeners. They don't want to upset people who feel that way and also tune into their shows that give them money. And what they really don't want to do is undermine all the work they've put in to push this great replacement theory, which makes it easier for them to turn their listeners, turn their viewers on marginalized people, on immigrants, on Muslims in their community, and continue building these white enclaves.
Yeah, by the way, there's two horrible synagogue attacks recently in America, one in Pittsburgh, one in Southern California. You know who did them? White supremacists. Is Mark Levin obsessed with white supremacists and how they've actually attacking Jews in sacred synagogues across the country? Nope, doesn't care at all. Jews being attacked and killed, who cares? Because it doesn't go towards his ultimate agenda, which is smear and hate Muslims no matter what happens. I don't care who's actually attacking Jews. I don't care who's attacking Israel. I don't care about anything except hating, and hating more. That's who Mark Levin is. He wouldn't speak out against the white supremacists that are the #1 danger to Jews in America. Why? Because he makes his money off of them. So that corrupt little pig thinks I'll just drive hatred towards a different direction, right or wrong. Who cares about who gets killed anyway? Because the guy bathes in and makes money from hatred. That's the only thing Mark Levin is. I hope I've been clear enough on that.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.